Hey guys, welcome back to Micho Makes. My name is Micho. I like to make stuff. Today I've got part number 41 of the Toyota Sprinter Trueno AE86 by DeAgostini. This is the 1/8 scale massive model that we are building together. And without further ado, let's just jump right into it. Alright, starting off, got it actually a pretty thin one today. So here's our front cover. Frames. Kit. And our magazine. Let's take a peek inside. Ah, cool. Looks like we got some discussion on the drive system here. Wow, actually, wait a minute. Oh, weird. Okay, so it looks like it's backwards. Hold on, let me make sure I can zoom out and focus on this. I don't know if they were just trying to throw you for a loop a little bit. I just want to make sure it's in focus for you. But you've got some information here. But it jumps right into actually the build. It's kind of funny right here. And you can see what we're working on today. Again, more hoses. And it looks like we're doing the steering column. It looks like. So cutting more hoses. Then we go, yep. Some steering column stuff here. Looks like we've got a little more piece of the downpipe too as well. Manifold cover. I have a ruler here too as well. More hose running. It's always fun. I'm being facetious here. It's kind of a pain in the butt because some of these, obviously it looks like you have to tape some of this on the outside just to kind of get out the way of the engine bay. And obviously they're trying to have this as accurate as possible, but it is kind of a pain in the butt because they want to make sure that they don't fall off and stuff. A lot more chassis stuff here. And then we have some more information. Looks like this is the LSD info on the LSDs. So actually with A86s, they did come some with the LSD option. So the rear end was you could buy open differential, or you could get a one with a stock OEM LSD, and LSD was pretty luxurious at the time. I believe in the American versions, the SR5 version obviously did not come with an LSD, which is also they called it the AE86, but their axles were actually a little bit, I believe they were longer. They were longer, I believe, and you had to modify them if you want to put an LSD in the rear end. There's a lot of upgrades too. You can get a stock LSD, and then you can actually replace it with an aftermarket one too as well, or just use a stock one in your vehicle. But that's kind of backwards. Kind of interesting that they put the information in the back this time. So you try to jump right into the part. I don't know if this is going to continue trend for the remaining parts too as well, but that's kind of cool. Or maybe they just screwed up on their publishing and then put this in the back instead of the front. Anyway, more information on the LSD there, but we'll jump right into the part and get everything unboxed. Let's take a look. Alrighty, actually let's start out. Looks like all the screws got put kind of loose in the bag itself. So let's take a look and see what screws we have here. Looks like we're starting off with MU screws, AP screws, AM screws, DM screws, SM screws, and CM screws. Cool. So put those to the side, make sure we don't get anything else mixed up. And we'll pop this open real quick and take a look at our parts. Alright, we'll just start off right away with what we have normally. Is just a massive length of hose. I'm going to try to spread these out because I know that they're going to kind of curl on you. It's been in package for however many years and months. So just make sure that they give themselves a little bit more time, because I've been struggling with these things, not gonna lie. It's really kind of a pain in the butt to try to manage these, especially if they like to curl a lot, and obviously it's cold where I film too as well. So I'm gonna kind of give these a little bit as much time to warm up as possible. All right, starting the parts. Ooh, okay. Looks like we've got a part of the exhaust system that's a kind of a cover or for underneath the vehicle. Heat shield. It's got another piece of heat shield. Now these are all plastic here. Again, it looks like a kind of a cover for a downpipe for the exhaust. And another piece too as well. Looks like I got a little flaw in the paint there. You can kind of see it right there. You know, I'm not surprised sometimes. Just manufacturing defects. It's okay. I've got a bracket here. I don't know what this is supposed to house. But this is metal actually. Maybe it's a servo or something. I don't know. But this is a nice little metal box. It looks like it's going to get screwed down somewhere. Another metal bracket. No idea where this will be either, but this is metal. This looks like piece of the steering column. I have a universal joint here too as well. This is metal as well, with a nice metal gearing too. The other part of that steering column, I believe. And oh, this actually might be the cover for that box. So I don't know, is this actually might be part of the steering column too? I have no idea. It looks like it's going to be the cover for this. I believe this is all just painted. I don't think it's dipped. All the parts. This is metal. It feels like aluminum almost. You can see a little bit of a paint flaw inside there. I don't think it was sprayed. Or maybe it was sprayed. My apologies. But you can kind of see that quality. And the last piece. Oh yeah. Definitely part of the steering column here. You can see the gearing on that. Sure if you can see that as well. This is metal too as well. And with that, that's it. Cool. So let's get the chassis, the rolling chassis out now, and take a peek at the what we got here. I don't know. Did this fall out? I don't know. Let me just double check. Oh yeah, it did fall out. Oh my gosh, I totally missed this piece. It's part of a universal joint, and I believe it's for the steering column there. This is does feel like metal. Wait, is this metal? This might actually be plastic. Actually, I wouldn't be surprised if this is plastic. And just because we're gonna have to screw into it too as well. So glad I did not drop this. Oh my gosh, that would have sucked. Cool. Now it's empty. Yep, cool. So Got all the pieces here. Let's get the rolling chassis out and start the build. Wait a minute. Just reviewing this from the steering column. Doing all this stuff. Cool. Exhaust covering. Cool. I just realized something. Looking at the hoses. Taping the stuff all the way. See that? Can you see that? What's that mean? We're actually mounting the engine in this part. Oh my god. Yeah. The engine is getting mounted. Dude. I was not expecting to do that. And I don't know, I just kind of skimmed over it by my mistake. But holy crap, we're actually getting this engine mounted in the vehicle. So, with that, let's just take a quick peek while it's out, because I think it's still super cool to look at it while it's kind of out. Give us a good look at it again while it's outside the engine. So pretty, just the details that, you know, this is a very, very iconic engine. I said this before in the past ones too as well, but just thinking of all the items in the engine that we're never going to see again. All the fuel injectors, all of the timing belt that got covered up almost immediately after putting it on, the cams and cam sprockets too as well, immediately covered up. That you as a builder know it's in there, right? But you're never going to see it again once it gets put into that engine. Sorry, the engine. Once it's put in the engine and put into the vehicle, you know, they didn't need to go through all those details. Now, obviously, DeAgostini's whole deal is to, you know, make it extremely detailed and make it so that there's 110 parts, and they could have easily just kind of said, you know what, we're good. We're just gonna, you know, put a cover on here. They could have just said, okay, cool, here's the cover. Just imagine that there's a timing belt inside and there's cam sprockets there and all that. You didn't need to do all that detail, but they did, and I think it's really cool. And again, the joy is building this, right? And building all of the intricate parts of the engine, and just knowing that there are pieces in here that will never be seen again unless you decide to disassemble this thing completely. But once it's inside the chassis, once it's inside the body, it's never going to be seen again. Really. And the whole joy of this is really just, you know, knowing and taking solace in the fact that there are those components inside. There are all these small details like, God, look at that oil filter placement. That's ridiculous. And you have to get your hand in there. But obviously this is as a model, you're never going to be able to remove that. It's going to look so good inside. And knowing the fact that there are these really beautiful details in here of this engine, it's going to look so good inside. But that's enough oogling of this. I hope you guys got a good view of it, because after this part, we're done. It's going to be in the engine bay, and probably never be taken out again. All right, let's get started. All right, starting off, we're going to be cutting this small vinyl tube here. Looks like we're going to be doing 3 different lengths of it, 100 millimeter, 80 millimeter, and 200 millimeter lengths. So let's get started. Now, I did look at the instructions, and they basically said, these are actually a little bit bigger than what is required. And the reason behind that is if you need to cut them a little bit shorter, you can too as well. So I usually just keep them as long as they need to be. There's 100 millimeter. Okay, let's do 80. It's just funny that we're working with this vinyl tube. It's nice and flexible. It seems like it works well. But man, it just likes to curl so much. Actually, let me double check that because I didn't really mark my spot as well as I would have liked. Right there. Here's 80. Just gotta make sure I keep them in order. I'm getting mixed up because it's only a 20 millimeter difference. And then 200. So we've got 150 here. So we'll mark that 150. Right here. Right about there. All right, and we've got a little extra tube here. Great. And then I looked actually further in the instructions about this thicker tube, and they say don't cut it. You're going to be using the full length, so don't worry about it, which is great. Perfect. Okay, so let's get on to the next step. All right, starting out here for the first piece, we're taking these two right here and then inserting this universal joint here as well, connector. So we're going to take this piece right here, insert it right there, make sure this is in focus for you, and then we're going to take some SM screws, try to juggle this together, and have this threaded right here. They definitely call out do not over tighten this, just because you want to kind of move freely. The front wheels do turn, I believe, on this model, so they're like, make sure you don't over tighten these, and that makes complete sense. Okay, it's pretty loose right now, and I should actually have this orientation. I kind of screwed up the orientation. Hold on, let me try that again. Yep, see, I screwed it up. I'm going to undo these real quick and get it set up properly. All right, good. I'm not going to tighten these down just yet, but I will in a second. Let's get this other one an orientation too. You make it a little bit easier with this all semi-assembled, and then I'll screw everything down appropriately. But you do want these to be able to move around. More difficult with that one. Put it on this side, just so it doesn't flop around too much. Okay, got it semi-done here. We'll go ahead and get these all cranked down now just a bit more. That looks pretty good. I don't want to tighten too much, only because it's gonna have to move. And this is a metal gear too as well, so I'm not gonna crank this down any more than it needs to be. But yeah, that piece is done. Okay, next piece involves these three pieces here and the DM screw, but we're taking this shaft and column right here, put it inside this box, and then the orientation is kind of critical because you can see the way the box is right here. We want these kind of an upward location, and this is how they have it kind of outlined in the picture there too as well. And then this crank piece, you can tell there's a short and a long side right there. Oop, let's make sure it's focused for you to actually be able to see it. Doesn't really want to focus too much. Okay, yeah, so you can tell there's a short and a long side right there. Looks like we're going to be, and actually there's this orientation right here too as well. We're going to be taking this more square hole versus the rectangular one right there, and actually putting it on this right here. Now, thankfully, they actually have it's kind of keyed into a square right there, so it's almost idiot proof, but you don't want to mount it like that. You don't want to mount it backwards like this. You want to mount it like this right here, and you just insert this here just like that. So that's kind of orientation. I'll be able to get there, and then where you're going to be using the DM screws right here to lock it in place. A little bit more difficult just because it's kind of finicky to hold this thing. Gosh, this is probably one of the harder pieces I've had to kind of finagle just because it's kind of pinching my finger right here. And I've got to hold this in place so I can screw it down because I've got a little bit more to do right there. Ow. Ouch. Let me grab a piece of paper towel so I can grab that. Okay, I think that's good enough. You can see how much I had to kind of wrench on that, and there's really no purchase for me to grab onto without destroying my fingers. Grabbed a little piece of paper towel. Luckily, the gearing was okay to grab onto, but yeah, it got screwed down. This is metal on metal with another metal screw. I'm glad I didn't really do any damage at all, which is great. And these are a testament to the precisionness of these actually screwdrivers that we got. But looks good. Not flopping around too much. Should be okay though. Cool. Next step, it looks like we're getting this mounted into the chassis there too as well. So let me get set up for that, and I'll bring you right back. All right, time to get this box mounted, and as this is a Japanese car, it's actually a right-hand drive, so we're going to be mounting the gearbox here, right here, and actually part of the steering axle here, right there, at this point here. You have to kind of be mindful of the fuel filter line too as well, so I'll just kind of push that out the way while it gets oriented correctly. So it goes like this, and we're going to be mounting that with CM screws on the box here and here, and then a UM screw connecting power steering right there. Cool. So insert this box right here. Make sure that gets out of the way. Actually, it fits quite nicely. It just kind of was able to lay in there. We can see this is not aligned properly just yet. So it just kind of drops in there. And I'm assuming this screw, you definitely don't want to screw this around too tight, because you can see that there's some play right there where you're able to obviously articulate this back and forth and turn the wheels too. Cool. So we'll go get the box mounted first. And then we're going to be grabbing a screw. And you see it right down there. It might be a little bit hard and or dark for you to see, but you can see it right there. We're going to put this right here. A lot of these holes are not threaded, so you're almost like cutting threads with the screw itself. It feels like, okay, so I do have to brace it a little bit on the back side because I'm just pushing down on the axle there, power steering. So I'm pushing up on it to just kind of give it enough purchase so I'm not bending anything too bad. But now it's screwing in a lot better. It's not flexing. I'm gonna screw it in till it's a little bit tight. I'm gonna back off then too as well. That feels okay. So now, okay, that's a little tight, so I'm gonna back this off a little bit. It's a bit looser. You can see the articulation of the gearbox in there too as well. Double check and make sure this is just loose enough that we're not like binding up on anything. That looks really good. Cool. It looks like looks pretty good. You can actually see the limits right here. And this is kind of what you get for steering with this model. Again, a lot of it's just for posing in regards to the wheels. So looks good. I mean, I'm at my limit right here. I'm at my limit right here. Yeah, looks really good. Cool. We'll move on to the next part. All right, next part, we're actually taking this piece here that we had built previously and actually inserting in this box. So what we want to do is make sure that the wheels are aligned in a parallel fashion, make sure it's nice and straight, kind of keep it in alignment. And then we're going to mount this shaft here with the gearing inside there, and we're going to have the these two screw holes at the top here. So I'm going to use my tweezers here while I kind of get this inserted properly. The right orientation. It is super tight here. Looks like I'm mounting it properly. Whoops. Gosh, this is just like an engine bay, really tight. The good thing is some of these lines would be hard lines, and you don't have to kind of move around with them just because they're flexible, they're nylon. Vinyl, sorry, not nylon, vinyl tubing. Make sure it gets the orientation done right. Because after we get this, have an alignment there, I'm going to take this box and we're going to be inserting this and actually screwing it down just so this can't move around. And you can see, which is really nice, there is a oops, it's going to focus on. There is a holding port right here that'll hold this shaft in place so that you can't move around. But let's just make sure this is in alignment right. These are pointing straight up. Looks like good. Gearing looks good. So with this orientation that we have here that I pointed out previously, that's going to lock this gear in. So use the tweezers here. Place it on. Get that just placed right on there. Nice and straight. Wheels are nice and straight, and we're going to be using the AM screws to lock this box down. Use the long screwdriver here. So what I'm going to try to do is hold down this corner, and I'm going to do corner to corner. I'm just going to let a few threads bite and get the other corner down. Just kind of lock this in place. A few more threads. And you can't see it, but it is kind of, the fuel filter is blocking this thread completely. So I don't know if I can remove that real quick. Let me just try it out. This one's fine. Excellent. Maybe I need to pull this off. I didn't glue this in right now. Cool. I can pull that off real quick. Would be a lot more difficult if it was a actual vehicle, right? Pull that off. Screw this down. But, you know, one of the guys who really taught me how to work on cars, you know, one of his things was, if it's in your way, you got to move it out the way. And that's the best way to approach a lot of these problems with some of the vehicles, is that when you're working on them, if you got something in your way, you have to move it out your way. Sounds simple, right? But it makes a lot of sense that if you're replacing a part, something's in your way, you've got to move that other part out of the way first before you can get to the other one. Cool. Looks like we're good to go and locked in on that one. I'll put this fuel filter back in. Push that in, and we're set on that steering box. Let's go to the next part. Okay, I don't know if this is the first time we've had to do this or what, but they're actually calling for me to remove this piece we've already installed back in part number 28. So I don't know why, but I've got to remove this piece because we're basically inserting the catalytic converter right here. They say, hey, remove this piece you already installed. Yeah, there it is. And apparently there was supposed to be a screw there. Maybe I missed it. Oops, pop that out. Okay, cool. Not broken. Nothing broke. Great. And maybe I missed a couple screws. I don't know. But they're like, take this screw out. I think I forgot to put it in or something. And then this screw here, move it out the way. So we'll pop this one out. Right here. Make sure this doesn't focus for you guys. Awesome. Okay, and then insert the catalytic converter. See the orientation right there. You can see the gearing. I just want to make sure I get it on correctly. Oops. Let's see here. Yeah, just like this. It's on right here. Put that back down. And then this piece can just get, there's no screws or anything, it's just kind of a press fit. Put that right here. Oops. Press it together. We've got a catalytic converter. And then screw this one back down. It does actually give it a good kind of detail because you can see it's off the bottom of the vehicle, the catalytic converter. And then looks like we're going to be needing to screw this new CM screw. So if I have one, I believe I do somewhere. Let me find a CM screw real quick. Oh, no, I've got one here. Got some here, so I'll take one of these. Maybe I didn't have one beforehand. Put that right here, in this hole right here. And then we have to insert this actually into here first before we can get this all aligned after that gets on there. And there you go. I was worried because it looked like there was a little spacing here, but I was like, oh, what's that? But no, it actually fits really nice. But you can see it is off the bottom. You know, they could easily just put it on there, but it's actually quite cool that the catalytic converter actually doesn't touch the body itself. It just floats on that shaft there. Cool. And now that part is done for this. And actually now this is screwed down, which is really nice. Do as well. Alright, so I actually was looking at the instructions and I was like wondering, I thought we already had built the downpipe, and we actually had. It's right there on the engine. And I was doing some research and actually, doing the translation on it, and it looks like this is shaped a little bit different. They said it's because of the shaping of the drive shaft, or sorry, the not drive shaft, the steering column. This has been reshaped for it to actually move a little bit more freely. So we're gonna have to remove this one and replace it with this one that they provided this issue. Kind of a pain in the butt, but it is what it is. So we are gonna be reusing the screws itself too. So we have to be kind of careful not to mess this up. Hopefully. Looks like I can just remove this one right here, which is nice, and then it should slide off pretty simply. Luckily, it's not super difficult to remove. If this pops open, I should be able to get it out. Let's see if I can pull this out. Okay, great. I'll loosen up this back one. Yeah, they actually designed this really well in respects of being able to remove this. Okay, cool. Looks like I should be able to pop this out now. Great. That was pretty simple. So let's take a look at these shapes real quick. This is the old one with the screw in there, and this is the new one. You can kind of tell a difference. Let me just hold it up. You can kind of tell that there is a definite shape difference. A little bit thinner here. You could, oops. Get this back together. Yeah, you can tell right here. Oh my gosh. Keep dropping it. You can kind of tell right here that there is a bit of a shape difference, a little bit thinner right there. And I would not be surprised if that would have been gotten in the way of the yeah, oh yeah. Let me just put these down actually next to each other. Just try to hold them. Yeah, the shape difference. This is the new one, and this is the old one, and you can tell right away that this one's definitely a lot more fatter. And it's super easy to do if it's a model, right? But if you're a manufacturer and you have an issue like this where the steering is being butt up against it, that would be a massive recall. But luckily this is plastic and this is a model, so we don't have any issues like that. Cool. Now to remember which orientation went for which. I believe this was the top one we just removed. Glad I did that actually. So we're just going to take this screw. They're exactly the same, and then just screw it to this bottom one here. Keep it kind of loose because we have to insert this here. We'll take the screw out, remove this one here. This part is no longer needed. And we saw the way that they did it with the wheels, you know, to make the tread look a little bit better, they said. They had basically gave us a free wheel. We'll probably use it as a spare. So we're going to be this orientation, and just kind of insert this just like that. Hopefully it'll fit on. Don't pinch any hoses or anything. Just like that. Pinch it. Take this. Oops. A little bit difficult trying to get at this weird angle here. Especially since it's breaking apart. I'll use the tweezers here. Try to get this in the right orientation here. Or actually will bite. Sorry if you're not able to see what I'm doing. This definitely feels like working on a car now. Just these weird angles you have to work around. And I think engineers do try to give you the best chance to get it, you know, any kind of maintenance done. But obviously there are certain engineers from certain brands that just do not care. Gosh. Done right. And luckily for me, I'm working with plastic here versus like immovable metal parts. It seems to be biting, which is good, but I think that screw might be at a little weird angle. We'll do our best. Oh yeah, that's good. Better. There you go. Looks good. Screw might be a little bit of a weird angle. It is plastic, so I'm not going to worry too much about it, but it's nice and firm in there. You're not going to see it against the engine, you know. So that looks great. All right, next step. Okay, so we're doing detail work now. You can see it here. Get something to point with. We're going to be putting a 100mm hose here, and actually the 200mm hose, I guess it's a cable, maybe a hose, but right here on the alternator. So we'll grab the 100mm one, and that gets inserted right here on top of here. You can kind of see it, maybe a little bit dark. And some of these, as mentioned, previous parts, ooh, no, that fit real good. Excellent, that one's done. And then the 200mm one goes right here on the top one of the alternator. That fit really nice. Man, that is really satisfying getting this one done. Excellent. And the 80mm one This one actually we're gonna need the chassis, so I've got to reposition. But you can see we're doing a lot more detail work of just filling in some of these points that need to be filled in, really. So we'll get the chassis. I'll get repositioned and get the chassis in here. Okay, back in the engine bay. All right, back in the engine bay. This little hose right here is going to be going actually right to the clutch slave cylinder right there. Now, this might be a little bit more difficult to insert just because it's usually the plastic bits. Inserting the vinyl hose in there. They're just a little bit thicker, which is fine, but you have to kind of expand it. And obviously, you could use toothpick they provided, but luckily enough, my tweezers are able to expand the hose a little bit. So just push it in, and I believe the vinyl tubing will, after expanding just a little bit, will shrink around the point too. But man, sometimes it's so difficult to get in. Oh my gosh. And it could be the tubing. I do think a lot of it's the casting too as well. I mean, these are really small parts, so sometimes the casting doesn't want to cooperate too. And also, the vinyl tubing collapses on itself really easily. So I'm gonna kind of push it in. Not pinch the hose too much. There we go. All right, now there it is. Perfect. Great. And that goes right there. Perfect. Okay, so that's the hoses for this part so far, and we've got the one big one left. So that's going to be a little bit in a second. Okay, so they said we're going to start by taping off all of these hoses over here just to kind of get them out of the way when attaching the engine to the engine bay. So let me just double check and verify which hoses need to get put away, out the way. Okay, so put this one out the way. Okay. There are two hoses that were running from the rear vehicle to the front, so we'll put these out the way too. Awesome, and then just kind of everything else kind of pushed out the way too. And then they also say for a lot of the hoses on the engine too, so just kind of tape these and get these out the way because you don't want them pinched too. So we'll take this and kind of tape it over here on the side down here. It's a little too much tape. Just get these out the way here too as well. Something like that. Cool. So we're getting real close to getting this thing inserted. So we'll get repositioned and we'll get started. Okay, for this part here, we're actually going to be removing these 4 screws here on the bottom of the vehicle. So I'm going to take this off and not lose any of these screws. Okay, got that removed. We'll go on to the next step. Okay, next step is actually we're removing this hose, this heater hose, right here on the end. It's a little short. They say, hey, we give you a long one. It's going to be a little bit easier to run. Do not, this is the one from the set. Don't cut this. You'll give yourself a lot more kind of leeway later on. It is a bit thicker though. All right, so the part for this big hose that we got actually is supposed to be on this bottom heater hose right here. You can see it where it's attached, and actually this fits really nice. Actually fits perfect. But for some reason, this bigger one, it just comes off and slips off really easily, and I don't like that too much, especially if we're going to be running this. It's just, once we get this installed, it's going to be kind of a pain in the butt to get on there. I might try to glue this on, because they are calling out where you're supposed to use a thicker hose here. I don't know if this is going to hold or not. You know, this might be a mistake too as well, to do something like this, but we'll try it out because I would like to use the longer hose to make sure it gets connected. We'll just try a dab of glue just on the edge of that little stem there. Nothing crazy. Let it set for a second. You know, vinyl, it's not silicone, which is good because silicone is very hard to glue if you can't glue at all. But we'll let it sit for just a second, and then I'll insert this on there because it's just a little bit too loose for my liking. Yeah, we'll let that sit for a couple minutes, I think, and yeah, we'll let it sit for a couple minutes and see if it's hardened up and at least doesn't move around, because this was a perfect fit. This small one was a perfect fit, but they were like, hey, change it out to the big one. I'm like, okay, let's do it, but I want to make sure it doesn't fall off. Cool. All right, guys, here we are, ready to go. For this heater line, this really long heater line, and hopefully the glue is kind of set a little bit, but we're actually taking this and inserting it into the firewall. There's two hoses that come in, but the hole right here. So this one we put in here, and we're actually going to be taking this and setting it in here, and then inserting this through the firewall here. So pull this through. Oops, I think I just felt I disconnected something down here, which I did, which is part of the alternator. And the glue did not hold. So let's get the alternator piece back in real quick and get this back right here. Glue did not want to hold. We'll do our best to make it look nice, at least. And get this kind of jimmied in here as best we can. Take some more just slack here. And oh my gosh, look at this. We don't have it set yet, but you can start seeing the workings of an engine inside the chassis. So I see what they're trying to do in making this hose a little bit longer to pull out, but you're actually going to be cutting this too. We'll see how it goes, and hopefully it stays, because it doesn't. I mean, oh yeah, it just fell out. Let me actually try this other one back on here, because it just stayed, and I'll try to feed it with my tweezers rather than mess around with trying to use this long one that doesn't really fit super well. Pull this off again, put the old one back on. If I struggle, then I will put it back. It's back in here. Get this in here. I'll use my tweezers. Sorry if it's out of focus. I'm going to try to keep it in frame as much as I can. So this is the larger one, and it's going to go into this hole right there. It's not that difficult if you have tweezers. I think the whole deal is that if you have bent tweezers, it's a little more difficult. Like that right there. See? They want you to cut this hose anyways. So there it is. Got it through. And it fits way better too. So I think the other part too. That I have to flip this over to mount all the screws too. So that might pop out again. But I mean, to be honest with you, just use the tweezers and get it back in. It just, this hose, I mean, you're cutting it anyways. It doesn't fit fully. I don't really like it too much. So, all right, let's mess with that later on because it has to cut this short anyways. Let's get it flipped over and mounted. So let's take a look. I'm gonna actually, let's zoom out and try and take a look. Oh yeah. So it looks like the mounting points need to go further back here. So we're getting close. Oh yeah, look at that. It just kind of fell into place and all these brackets are here. I don't know about that hose, but again, I'll just mess around with using tweezers to get in there. You know, whatever. Got aligned. This exhaust needs to get inserted. This breaks off a little bit and there. Good. That's in there. And these should be aligned up here with these two. You're going to be using CM screws here and then AP screws right here. So let's try to get that in there. Let's get a couple AP screws in first, and then we'll take a look at everything else. Got a lot of AP screws. I don't need to support the engine, which is nice. Looks like it got to fit in there just real nice. Okay. Not going to crank it down too much. And then CM screws, a couple CM screws to the front. Make sure that these hold are aligned so I don't mess up anything. I think it's okay. Oh yeah, I can see in there. That's no problem. This one looks like a little bit misaligned. Let's try the bottom one first, and then I can move it around a little bit. Oh yeah, the bottom one's biting fine. Okay. It's the other one. Get this mounted. It's like so. Looks a little bit misaligned. It looks like it needs to be pushed down some on this side. Oh yeah, cool. So I'll just squeeze it down. Don't feel it biting just yet, unfortunately. So let me get this in there a bit better. I'm going to use my tweezers and make sure that they're aligned whole. It's aligned. Oh yeah, there it goes. I was able to pry it down just some, get that alignment, and now we're biting real good. Okay, cool. Got 2 more screws here on the back. All right, guys, moment of truth. Let's flip it over and take a look. Oh, she's a beaut. Look at that. Mounted really well. Oh, yeah, look at that too. That hose back there. Yeah, it would be impossible to get that threaded through now, but it is there, no problem. I do have that other hose right there. Make sure it's nice and pulled through too as well. Excellent. And this hose. Excellent. Wow. Look at this. Just take a peek at that. It's mounted. It is mounted. The engine is mounted. That is so cool. Gosh. All that work building this whole engine, finally getting it mounted in the chassis. Yeah, it definitely made the model more heavy. We haven't even touched about body panels yet, so super cool. Let me take a look and see what's next on this part. This is a super long part, and we're not done yet. We're actually attaching the drive shaft to the transmission. So flip it over. We've got the transmission and drive shaft here. Luckily, this is free rotating, so we're able to align this as we need to. But we got to make sure that this is good to go. Actually, this is fixed, so we can't actually rotate it too much. So we'll go ahead and rotate it up, down orientation, which is nice. We'll get this oriented properly too. We can rotate these as well. Obviously, aesthetically, you're going to want this direction, but we'll come to that. We'll cross that bridge when we need to. So, kind of getting this alignment. Hopefully, it's able to just kind of get tucked in here. Without hopefully too much fanfare. Yep, good. Cool. That's up the way. And then push this down, get this aligned. We'll zoom in actually for you so you can see. Kind of. Strange angle. Maybe I'll bring it a little bit closer to me so I'll be able to see it and you guys will be able to as well. So we'll just use our tweezers and get this aligned a little bit better. Some more up and down. Excellent. We'll use the tweezers to kind of align the holes nice. And we're going to be using all AP screws, so grab an AP screw. Get this aligned in here. We have to grab the drive shaft too. Gosh, now we're really getting into what it's like working on a car where you have just not much space at all to do much of anything. The good thing is though, there's a lot more plastic parts versus like metal parts on models, because metal, or sorry, plastic is much more forgiving in terms of stripping screws or whatever, you know, and it's not structural, let's just say, where you're putting your life in it. The model, you're just having fun, making sure it looks good. Because if you really wanted to, and you're like, I don't want to deal with this, you could cut these off and just put the screws on, just the heads on, and just make it look like it's there, you know. But you don't need to go through all this trouble if you're just building a model that's never going to be driving you around, right? Trying to get it aligned a little bit better so we can get this screw in here. Try again. It's like a hole got misaligned once again. Try a different pair of tweezers just to make sure. That looks better. Let's see if I can get it this time. Much better. Cool. Now we got to rotate this. Get on the other side. Take this. Luckily, again, there's no real gearing or anything we have to worry about, so we just need to physically rotate it. Actually, can I rotate it back here? Maybe not. Gosh, it's so funny to having to do the struggles of working on a regular car and on a model itself. Almost there. Come on, rotate. Rotate, rotate, rotate. Almost there. There it is. That's what we're looking for. Great. This one should be pretty easy just because everything's aligned already. Okay. That's all nice and screwed. All right, and then the last piece is this part right here, which actually is just, a support piece for the drive shaft. That actually needs to get rotated down. And I don't know if you can you see it? Kind of see it? Check better angle. It's a hole right here. There, it's keyed. And we're going to rotate that down. Go here, lift this up. And just the drive shaft support. Rotate that and insert it right there. And it's going to be screwed in on the underside. Right there, just right there. Yep. The model. Zoom out. Right there. I'll try to kind of hold it. See if you guys can see it. But it's actually right here on the tunnel. Grab another AP screw. Oops. We'll hold that right there. You can kind of see it there. It feels like it's biting now, which is good. right. And our drive shaft is hooked up. Nice and solid. Next part is just reapplying this piece that we had removed. Right here. Is this, or did I turn it around? Yes, just like that. Alrighty, with that, our underside is done for this part. Let's take a peek at it real quick. Drive shaft. This is put back on here. We got the screws here. Support screws that were put on under here too as well. Great. And with that final cover put on, we are done with part number 41 of the Toyota Sprinter Trueno AE86 by DeAgostini. What a massive, massive part. And I've said that for a lot of these, but are you kidding me? We spent so much time building this engine. We spent so much time getting all this kind of situated. And to actually join engine to vehicle, what a milestone that we've hit on this part. I think it's coming together so well. It's so cool to see everything kind of being built out. All these intricate wires. Oh, look at that. Let me put this back in here too as well. All these intricate parts finally kind of coming together, homogenizing together. God, it is so just detailed. Let me just get some detail for you of the engine bay. That's so incredibly detailed. Like, I mean, I hope you whoever's viewing this appreciates how much detail these models have been. Like, every single part has been so just incredibly detailed. Attaching a drive shaft and getting it all situated and really having it sit in the body itself is such an accomplishment. So thank you for joining me on part number 41 of the Toyota Sprinter Trueno AE86 by DeAgostini. My name is Micho Makes. I really do appreciate a like, subscribe if you haven't done it already. It really helps encourage me to keep going with this. We're not even halfway through. This is 110 parts, and eventually we will get there. But part number 41 will definitely stick out in my memory of being able to mount this engine in the body as a really kind of great way, a capstone of what we've accomplished so far. So again, thanks very much. We'll see you guys in the next one. Bye for now.